it's not the same thing. It's not the same brake at all. The amount of effort you got to put in to stop the wheel is just nothing.
Yeah.
Starts with an idea in the head, and for me, it's an idea I've had for many years. No one was interested in doing it. There's a guy on Instagram reached out and said, hey, I've got this buddy Brad, and he may be interested in doing this. Contacted Brad, and Brad's like, yeah, that sounds like an awesome idea. So he engineered the brake mount, then had a guy manufacture them, and then he welded them on there. That was that. They just work. Yeah, I don't do anything with them. I don't give two thoughts about going back to a traditional 990s.
Never again.
Never again.
TJ, what is going on with your brakes?
All right, so they are a hydraulic rim brake. Magura makes a brake like this called the HS33, which is like a standard for competition trials riders.
So it's a trials.
It's a trial
thing.
brake.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like specifically what you see them on, or like commuter bikes for random people, you know, but they don't know what they got. They could have a V-brake and it would be just the same.
Mm-hmm.
So the purpose of these though is like the power that's in there, it just completely and like absolutely stops the wheel when you grab the lever.
Were old style brakes not good enough?
No. You ride brakes, so you know this. You know on your 990 brake that you're gonna do any trick and you're gonna grab the lever, and in the back of your head, there's always this thing of like, my brake's going to slip, because it will slip. It's just like, it's like it's gonna rain. It's gonna rain, you know it's gonna rain, your brakes are gonna slip with a cable actuated brake. It doesn't matter, the brake pads, the brake tar, the setup, the dialing, whatever. There's a position where you get on your bike and the brake will slip. So I've been riding these for 2 months now. I can't get them to slip. I haven't figured out where I can make them slip. I've done plenty of get on the ramp and my tire slides, like because there's not enough friction there, but I haven't been able to make the brake just slip and fade.
So how do you even go about the process of getting those on a BMX bike?
Well, it starts with an idea in the head, and for me, it's an idea I've had for many years. And then I happen to have some excess time and did some research, put some calls out on Instagram. I'm like, hey, any frame builders that anybody knows that can do this? I talked to, you know, all the popular custom frame builders in BMX. No one was interested in doing it. And then I'm forgetting the fella's name, but there's a guy on Instagram who follows me, and he reached out and said, hey, I've got this buddy Brad, and he may be interested in doing this. Contacted Brad, and Brad's like, yeah, that sounds like an awesome idea. I'll do that for you. So I sent him the brake setup, I sent him the frame, the fork, I sent him my wheel set, and I told him, you know, where the back wheel would be, and I'm just like, just make it happen. Like, I don't know what to tell you to do, because I don't know what to do on it. So he engineered the brake mount, which you could call this like the brake post.
Okay,
and,
yeah.
Then had a guy manufacture them, and then he welded them on there. That was that.
Wow. That is so nuts. So, yeah, what are the components that you went with?
So this system is, it's a racing line, so it's Racing Line Nano. I believe that's what it's called. It ended up just being like the least expensive brake setup I could find, and it had the blade, or the lever, was more of a traditional style than anything else I could find, so that's why I went with it. These levers are actually, they're a 4-finger lever that used to be this long.
Oh.
And I've cut them down, and I've got like a little bit of like JB Weld stuff that create the ball on here and stuff, and then sand them so they're smoother. So it's like a traditional style brake lever, at least for me at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Racing Line brake setup. And then the pads here, these are Cool Stop pads. And if you're familiar with the BMX Flatland Cool Stop pads, these are like a clear pad that Cool Stop makes. This is the same compound as that pad. It's just red.
Really? So you're just using a normal brake pad in this thing?
It's not a normal brake pad. I got some in the car if you want to pull them out and look at them
Okay, I'm just curious.
Stuff. But no, it's like it's specifically made for this type of braking system.
Okay, it's just the same compound.
Yeah,
I
it's
gotcha.
the same compound. That's what it is. So it's sticky.
Yeah.
But like I'm pretty sure I could have like cardboard brake pads and like the wheel would still stop better than like my old 990 style brakes.
Wow.
And when I like my previous bike to this, my brake setup was like the best it had ever been. Like it was like I was so happy with it. And then this goes on, and like I don't give like two like thoughts about going back to a traditional 990 style.
Never again.
Never again. Like there's just
you're just gonna send your stuff to the guy and he's gonna do it every time.
It's so like it's so like it's not the same thing. It's not the same brake at all. Because just the amount of effort you got to put in to stop the wheel is just nothing.
Yeah.
You don't have any of the weird like cable drag. You get cable drag when the cable's coming through here, so you're tri-flowing, greasing, doing everything you can to eliminate that drag, and then it just doesn't exist.
You took DIY to like the highest level possible, to the point where like you don't even have to mess with them. They just work.
They just work. Yeah. I don't do anything with them. You know.
That's so nuts.
I despise bike maintenance. I hate working on my bike. I would work on it. I love to work on it, but like if I don't have to, I don't want to. So
right.
It's like I don't have to do anything with it to make it work.
Wow.
It just work.
So like, how's this actually work as far as like the hydraulic stuff and everything? So you're at the lever and you've got.
Yep. So there's a master cylinder in here, and then these are called slave cylinders. And hopefully I'm not screwing that up. You know, my knowledge of this is pretty basic at this point. But you literally just have fluid in the system. There's a piece in here that just when you push, it pushes the system.
It compresses
the fluid and pushes the slaves here to do the brake. And that's all it is.
Wow.
And here's the interesting thing about this is like there's a specific like brake fluid that's in here, but this whole system is designed to where you can use water for your brake fluid.
Really?
Yeah, so you don't need to use like specific fluid. If you're in a pinch, you can go get a bottle of water, bleed your brakes with that, and it'll last. Now, it doesn't last forever, so you have to bleed them more frequently, but you can go that route.
Wow. Is there any kind of adjustment that you
So
get?
you see, you got 2 points of adjustment on the actual brake mounts. You can move the slaves in and out towards the rim. And then you have this thing here, it's called a TPA wheel. And if you look in here, you'll see this like thread.
Yeah.
And that little piece, you adjust this, and that moves this in and out on the master cylinder there. So it adjusts like how much pull you need.
I see.
If you dial out real far. So these are essentially your brake barrels.
Oh, and then you just go in.
Yep.
That's cool.
So that's what those are.
They're infinitely better, huh?
They're not the same thing. That's the thing. It's not that they're better. It's just like, you know, a cable actuated brake versus a hydraulic brake. For the style of riding I do, which is like, I want my wheel to stop.
Yes.
I don't care about feathering or like I gotta slow down or whatever. You know, it's like the wheel needs to stop. And for the wheel to stop, this is just, to me, that's like the right answer for stopping.
It makes total sense. Have you noticed any like bad aspects or drawbacks to it?
Bleeding the brakes, like that's the bad thing about it.
Yeah.
Now I say that with I've bled the brakes 5 times, and this is my first time like working with a hydraulic system, so I'm still learning. It's just messy.
Yeah.
Is really what it comes down to. I've learned that like to bleed the brakes properly, like pull everything off the bike, take the brake pads off, get away from like anything you need to keep clean.
Oh, okay.
And take your time, and it's just more of a patience thing.
I gotcha.
And I'm generally an impatient person, so it's like I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. But that's the only drawback I found so far.
You notice flex in the parts now?
The frame, you can see the frame flex. You can see the fork flex.
Really?
I don't know if you can like see it real well, but you'll see it. You can see it more on this one.
Oh, I see. It's moving. It. The whole thing is moving.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
okay. And then the same thing happens on the back.
But
okay.
you don't notice it. It's not like a cable actuated brake where you feel like, I don't know how to describe it. But there's like, you can really tell the flex when your brake arms are moving or your bushings are worn out. You can feel that in the system.
Yeah.
This, it's only one point of flex. Because like a cable system, you have the cable that flexes, you have the arms that flex, the pads that flex,
the barrels,
bushies,
the gyro plate,
everything compresses,
yeah,
flexes, moves, and all that. And this, it's just the only thing that's actually moving is here.
right.
So it's a really solid feeling brake compared to like a traditional style.
I noticed you have a gyro on there.
Yep.
What's
the gyro?
Plans for that?
I haven't hooked it up yet. I was waiting for all the parts and pieces, and I've got all those, and then now I'm on a trip, and I'm like, I'm not gonna try to figure out if it works or not.
Yeah.
The only thing I've noticed with it is, and if you feel that, you can feel this movement.
Oh, it's not. That's not gonna bar spin great.
But apparently it does.
Maybe it's better when there's fluid in it.
No, I don't think so. No.
Oh.
My buddy, I bought this off a buddy of mine, and he had it set up on a DJ bike, so I got to play with it a little bit. You don't notice that as much as you think you would when you're riding it. But I've yet to try it and like have any like real experience on it. When I get back from my trip, I'm gonna hook it up and just see how it works.
Cool.
It's designed for disc brakes, and the housing you use for a disc brake, I guess, is different than this type of housing or hose. So to be determined. There's a guy in Poland, OJS BMX. He was on Instagram. He's no longer on Instagram, but if you look on Reddit, you'll find him. He has this gyro set up with the HS33 brake, and he actually has like a cool Shimano XCR lever on it, but he's made this setup work with that gyro.
On a BMX bike?
On
Nice.
A BMX bike, yep.
So you're not the first one. There's a little bit of resources out there.
Nah, when I did this and first got in contact with Brad to build this, like he was still in the design stage.
Oh, okay.
So he hadn't completed it, and he went a different route with it. He created a plate that works with the traditional 990 mount, and then the brake goes on there. I started there to do that, but I was more concerned about the flex in the system, so I just abandoned that idea, and it made more sense to go this way. Because again, if you look at a traditional style, like competition trials bike, they have frame mounts like this, and then they have like welded in bridges on the frame and forked to like stiffen everything.
Right.
So to me, it just was like, all right, that makes sense to go that route.
That does make sense.
But the gyro, like, I want to do it because you can see I've got the cable twisted up on it. It works fine, but I'd rather just not have to think about it.
Right.
I've already wrecked one hose thinking my bars were twisted one way and they were the other way, and then you like do a foot jam tail nose pick, and you just like not shred the hose, but you kink it, and then it's just really better.
That makes sense. So the one thing I heard about this style of brake when I went to Interbike in 2016, and what people talked about was that they were so strong that they would bend the sidewalls on rims. Are you like worried about that?
I've been warned of that, and I am worried about that. That's why I keep a spare set of wheels with me. But I haven't had it break, and this back rim too is like, if you see, I've got a really nice little ding.
Oh my goodness!
And they're still holding up, but again, I've been doing this for about 2 months now.
So you just paying attention for in case something happens.
I'm like I don't like bike maintenance, but I inspect and check and like check the bolts and everything, because the last thing I want is to be riding and have a failure and like I wreck and get hurt because I didn't I didn't tighten my peg today.
Right.
So, and I'm really particular about how my bike feels. So if something's loose, dinging, weird, like it almost like I can't ride my bike now. So I've got to make it work right anyways.
That is too freaking cool. So if someone wanted to, because I know you post up like in your stories and whatever, if someone wanted to see that, where do they find it?
I don't know what my Instagram handle is.
It's right there. The TJ Henderson.
That's okay. That's what it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well,
and then I've had so since I've done this, I've got 2 buddies that I ride with in my area, and they both have like built a setup like this now. But they did they got like V-brake mounts, and they just had a guy weld the V-brake mounts onto the frame, and then the Magura HS33, when you get that brake kit, it's made with an adapter plate and everything to fit just on V-brake mounts.
Oh.
So you can literally just you have to get the V-brake mounts welded on, but then you just put the system on your bike and you go to town.
The flex element, it all feels about the same.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
So that's cool. So there's a potential future for this.
Yeah, I mean, you really, if you know how to TIG weld or know somebody that TIG welds, you can literally go, got the mounts on framebuilder.com. You can get the mounts, and then you just put them on there and you just go down.
There you go.
But yeah, if you like to do the type of riding I like to do, which is you do like stalling tricks on the wheels, it's like the way to go. If you want something where you can like slow down a little bit and like feather your brake and do things like that, I don't think it's necessarily the way to go, because
because it's kind of on or off.
They really are just on or off.
That makes sense.
Yeah. You can modulate them a little bit, like, you know, if you have a really good like traditional setup with clear pads and brake tar, generally if you grab the lever, it's gonna grab real hard. A lot of people kind of learn to barely touch to feather the brake. It's similar in that respect, but it's something you got to learn. It's like a feel thing.
Well, this is so sick, and thank you for telling me about it. I don't know, I saw it online, I was like, that is so awesome. And I didn't ask you any questions before this because I wanted to hear it all now.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, now that you have my Instagram handle, feel free to ask. This is like the epitome of nerding out on a bike now for me, because it's been like inside the brain for so long.
Yeah.
Here it is, and I'm so excited about this, and it makes riding my bike like so much fun, because it's like there's like that one element that's removed from bike riding now, where the brakes don't slip, they just work. So
this is like a series for me at this point, because I've done so many bike checks with people who've done crazy things lately. Yeah, so this is one in those. Check TJ out, and thanks. This is just cool. Sick.